Your INFJ brain wasn't born this way. It was built by childhood trauma. And here's the part nobody tells you. The same experiences that broke you are precisely what made you extraordinary. If you've ever felt like an old soul or wondered why you can read people like a book, this video reveals the shocking link between your childhood and your cognitive superpowers. By the end of this video, you'll understand how your early experiences literally forged your most remarkable abilities. Trust me, this isn't just psychology, this is your origin story. Before we start, please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss any of our weekly deep dives into the world of personality types. And if you are looking to achieve a deeper understanding of yourself and your personality type, click the link in the comments to take our favorite free personality test. The hypervigilant child, when internal intuition was born. Here's what most people don't understand about INFJ children. You weren't born with dominant introverted intuition. You were forced to develop it. When your environment became unpredictable, your young brain had to find a way to survive, and that survival mechanism became your greatest cognitive gift. Picture the INFJ child in a chaotic household. Maybe dad's mood swings were explosive and unpredictable. Perhaps mom was emotionally unavailable, drowning in her own pain. Maybe there was addiction, mental illness, or just constant conflict that made home feel like walking through a minefield every single day. Your developing brain realized something crucial. If you could figure out the patterns and predict what was coming next, you could avoid the explosion. You could prevent the pain. This is where your internal intuition was born, not in peaceful contemplation, but in desperate hypervigilance. You became an emotional detective, studying micro-expressions, voice tones, and energy shifts like your life depended on it, because in many ways, it did. You learned to sense when dad was about to lose it before he even knew it himself. You could feel mom's sadness building like a storm system, days before she'd break down in tears. This constant pattern recognition, this need to see around corners and predict outcomes, became hardwired into your neural pathways. Your brain literally restructured itself to prioritize this intuitive knowing above everything else. While other kids were playing, you were analyzing, reading the room like a tiny therapist trying to keep your world from falling apart. The terrifying part is how good you got at it. You could walk into a room and immediately sense the emotional undercurrents. You knew which conversations were safe and which topics would trigger chaos. You developed an almost psychic ability to understand what people needed before they asked for it. But here's the cost. That constant state of alertness, that hypervigilance, created a baseline of anxiety that many INFJs carry into adulthood. Your nervous system learned to expect danger even in safe situations. You became so focused on everyone else's emotional weather that you lost touch with your own inner climate. Your internal intuition developed as a survival tool, but it came with a price. The same intuitive gift that makes you extraordinary at reading people and predicting outcomes also makes you prone to overthinking, catastrophizing, and getting lost in worst-case scenarios. Your superpower was forged in trauma, and it shows. Yet this is also why INFJs often seem to possess an almost supernatural understanding of human nature. Your internal intuition wasn't developed through books or theory. It was created through necessity. You had to become a master of human psychology just to navigate your daily reality. The child who had to predict emotional storms became the adult who can see patterns others miss. The kid who had to read between the lines became the person others turned to for insight and understanding. Your early pain created cognitive abilities that most people spend decades trying to develop. But reading the room was only half the survival strategy your young mind developed. The emotional caretaker, how external feeling became your shield. While your internal intuition was developing to predict emotional storms, your extroverted feeling function was forming for an entirely different, but equally crucial reason. You didn't just need to see the chaos coming. You needed to manage it. You needed to become the family's emotional regulator, the tiny therapist who could somehow keep everyone from completely falling apart. This is where the INFJ child becomes something heartbreaking and extraordinary at the same time. You learned that your emotional intelligence wasn't just a gift, it was a responsibility. When mom was overwhelmed, you became her confidant. When dad was angry, you became the peacekeeper. When your siblings were scared, you became their protector. Your external feeling developed not as a natural expression of empathy, but as an emotional shield. You realized that if you could just manage everyone else's feelings, if you could just give them what they needed emotionally, maybe the house would stop feeling like a war zone. You could create the stability that the adults in your life couldn't provide. You became a master at reading what people needed emotionally before they even knew they needed it. You learned to shapeshift emotionally, becoming whatever version of yourself would keep the peace. If mom needed someone to listen, you became the perfect listener. If dad needed someone to be strong, you buried your own fear and became his little soldier. The terrifying thing is how natural this became. You could walk into a room, scan everyone's emotional state, and immediately know what role you needed to play. You became so good at managing other people's emotions that you forgot you had your own. Your feelings became secondary to everyone else's emotional stability. This is why adult INFJs often struggle with boundaries. You learned early that your worth was tied to your ability to regulate others emotionally. You became addicted to being needed, because being needed meant being safe. If you could just keep everyone happy, maybe they wouldn't leave. Perhaps they wouldn't explode. Maybe the chaos would finally stop. Your external feeling became both your greatest strength and your greatest prison. You developed an almost supernatural ability to understand what people need emotionally, but you also learned to sacrifice yourself on the altar of everyone else's comfort. You became so good at being what others required that you lost touch with who you actually were underneath all that emotional caretaking. The exhaustion that many INFJs feel isn't just from being introverted. It's from carrying the emotional weight of everyone around you since childhood. You learned to be responsible for feelings that were never your responsibility to manage. You became the family therapist before you even understood what emotions were. But here's what's incredible about this development. Your external feeling didn't just make you a people pleaser. It made you a master of human emotional dynamics. You can walk into any situation and immediately understand the emotional undercurrents. You know what people need to feel safe, loved, and understood, because you've been providing that since you were a child. The shadow side is real, though. Many INFJs struggle with resentment because they've been giving emotionally since childhood without anyone teaching them how to receive. You learn to be the giver, the fixer, the one who holds everyone together. But no one taught you that you deserve the same care you are providing others. This combination of internal intuition and external feeling created something unexpected, though. The beautiful paradox. Your trauma is your superpower. Here's the shocking truth that most people won't tell you about your INFJ development. What broke you also made you extraordinary. The same childhood experiences that created your deepest wounds also forged your most powerful cognitive abilities. Your trauma isn't separate from your gifts. It's the foundation they were built on. Think about it. While other children were developing normally through play and security, you were developing advanced pattern recognition and emotional intelligence out of pure necessity. Your brain was forced to mature faster, to adapt, to survive. The result is cognitive abilities that most adults never fully develop. Your internal intuition doesn't just see patterns, it sees the patterns that matter most. You can predict human behavior because you have to. You can sense what's not being said because your survival depended on reading between the lines. You developed intuitive abilities that seem almost psychic because your childhood required you to master human psychology. Your external feeling doesn't just understand emotions. It understands the emotional needs that people don't even know they have. You can provide comfort, healing, and insight because you learned to be an emotional caretaker before you could even tie your shoes. You developed empathic abilities that make you a natural healer, counselor, and guide. This is why INFJs often become therapists, writers, spiritual leaders, and visionaries. Your childhood didn't just give you trauma, it gave you tools. You understand human pain because you've lived it. You know human potential because you've had to transform your own suffering into strength. The beautiful paradox is that your most significant wounds became your most extraordinary wisdom. The hypervigilance that created your anxiety also created your insight. The emotional caretaking that exhausted you also developed your ability to heal others. The chaos that broke your childhood also built your capacity to help others find peace. This doesn't mean you should be grateful for trauma or that suffering is necessary for growth. What it means is that your INFJ brain found a way to transform poison into medicine. Your cognitive functions developed not despite your difficult childhood, but because of it. The key is learning to see your story as one of transformation, not just trauma. You're not broken, you're forged. You're not damaged, you're developed. Your childhood experiences shaped cognitive abilities that most people spend lifetimes cultivating. Your job now isn't to fix yourself, it's to understand yourself. To honor both the pain that shaped you and the gifts that emerged from that shaping. To use your origin story not as an excuse for staying stuck, but as fuel for becoming everything you were meant to be. Your childhood didn't just shape you, it forged your cognitive superpowers. The trauma that forced your INFJ brain to develop created abilities that most people never access. You're not broken, you're extraordinary. And your origin story is one of transformation, not just survival. Check out our other INFJ videos and subscribe for more insights into your unique mind. If you want to continue the journey to understanding yourself or an INFJ in your life, click either of the following videos, where we continue to unlock the secrets of the INFJ personality type.